Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 18 of our TCW Save and TEW 2020. This is Total Wrestling for March, week 3, coming off a significant edition of the show. On the previous episode, as we had a huge show closing angle, along with many other things that happened in that to kind of move forward our storylines towards Battleground. But we start this show off as soon as we come on the air. We already see the Syndicate, or what's left of the Syndicate, in the ring with Kyle Rhodes, and we see Kyle Rhodes kind of give the nod as soon as he gets the cue that they are on the air. He asked the question everyone wants to know to Wolf Hawkins. Why did you do what you did to Chris Flynn last week? And Wolf just kind of shakes it off and says, do I have to keep repeating myself? I said that what happened at the War to Settle the Score was unacceptable. Anything other than Aaron Andrews not walking out of that match was unacceptable. And Chris Flynn had to find out exactly what I meant by that, and so did Aaron Andrews, and so did everybody else. Everybody thought that that was sort of the end of the Syndicate when they beat us in the match. They didn't beat us. They didn't beat me, Wolf Hawkins. They didn't beat Doc Hammond. They didn't beat Eddie Chandler. They didn't beat Nate Johnson. They beat Chris Flynn, and he proved to be the weakest link, and you cannot allow failure into the Syndicate. And so we had to do what we had to do, and we're glad that Aaron Andrews and TBone and everybody else got to watch exactly what we meant when we said that it was unacceptable and that by any means necessary, we will do what we have to do to have the whole world in our hands. And that's exactly what we'll have when I defeat Aaron Andrews to retain my TCW World Heavyweight Championship, and it's going to happen soon enough. Kyle Rhodes, you and everybody else, you can't even see what's going on around you right now. But it's there, and just know that, again, the Syndicate will have the entire world in our hands. So, you guys know, a bit of a nod there to the late Bray Wyatt, but so Wolf really pushing that the Syndicate did what they had to do there, and we'll see what that means here moving forward. All right, so we get an announcement here that at Battleground, we've got another match set for the show. It's going to be Joshua Taylor trying to continue his winning streak. He's going to take on Human Arsenal, John Anderson. So these two go one-on-one. Like I said, some of these matches that you'll see at these shows may not have, the build, but we're just kind of pushing matches, right? Like clashing and Clash of Champions style. Some of those matches will be like that. Some will be built up a little longer, but I'm looking forward to this one. Think it should be a good match. So Taylor versus Arsenal at Battleground, 73 for this segment, and a good match here to start things off, 74, as it is Arsenal getting the win over Roderick Remus, 9:59. The ammo dump does it on that one, so we see great chemistry between these two. It's kind of again, I always love just kind of the random pairings that you don't expect to have great chemistry, and these two would fit that category, I think. So, good match here to start things off. Definitely exceeded expectations. I didn't know what this would be. I didn't think it would be a 74. But, again, Arsenal getting the win, and so sets him up for a big match with Joshua Taylor at Battleground to see if he can kind of stop the streak here for Taylor. So, all right, now we get kind of an inset promo here. So, kind of a previous sort of a video package from Greg Gage, who is essentially responding, to Bart Biggins coming out, being the person to step up for, as Greg Gage has called it, unlucky number 13 for the title defense, and we know that he will defend that title TV championship against Biggins at Battleground. And so Gage just kind of continues to push here that he doesn't see Bart Biggins as a legitimate challenger, and that, he's seen Bart Biggins lose time and time again, and why should anyone think that he is going to find a way to take the TV championship away from him when Greg Gage has already beaten 12 other people. And in fact, Greg Gage says, I think about pretty much all of them are better than Bart Biggins. So Gage really just, running down Bart Biggins here, heel style. And that's kind of the setup here, is that Greg Gage just is not buying Bart Biggins as a legitimate challenger here. So 74 for this one. Good start here. We've had a good string of good stuff here. So 60 for this. Bart Biggins getting the win over Maverick. So not quite a 70 here, but Biggins getting a win. And again, just kind of building up some momentum here for Bart heading into it. Bart Biggins with an edge. And that was it. I think all heart, right? That's the other thing. So really, babyface Bart Biggins here. Triple B is on a roll, and he's getting a lot more momentum heading into the show. And we'll have more to come on that for the go-home edition of Total Wrestling next week. But we'll have a little bit more on Bart Biggins on that. But he gets a win here in a 60 segment. All right, now the team is back. Your new favorite tag team. No, I'm not talking about Jalen Martins and Joey Philly. Troy Tornado and Ernest Youngman. 50 for this one here. Not a great match, but I knew it wouldn't be because, these two are still in developmental. But actually, we call them Martins, but he's got to lose the championship first. So Tornado and Youngman get another tag team win here. And Youngman pins Jalen Martins with the hit here yet again, folks. So remember we pushed it last week when these two teamed up for the first time. Youngman did not allow Tornado into the match here. So Troy never got in. And that's the same thing here again, as it's Troy Tornado basically saying, you know what? Troy, he was a little caught off guard last week by it, but he kind of like this week is like, hey, you go right ahead. You take care of all the work. And we just kind of see Troy Tornado doing all the heel antics on the outside on the ring, acting like he's taking a nap, just kind of trying to prop his feet up on the turnbuckle, basically, letting his partner do all the work here. And that's what happens again as Youngman does all the work and, just showing that very impactful style of Ernest Youngman. And so that gives this team the win yet again. So sort of the odd duo gets another win here. And remember, we all know why I'm doing this, because I'm needing to package Ernest Youngman with someone else that has more popularity to be able to get wins, because there's just a lot of people who don't want to put Ernest Youngman over in a singles match. So, and we can't put him on there because he's not as popular yet, with lower guys like a Dean Daniels or an Elliot Thomas, guys like that, because then we'd get the note that, fans don't care about either one of these people. So, yeah, so that's kind of what we're having to do here. But at 50, it will pay off in an entertaining way, I believe. But after the match, they're back. More importantly, Flying Jimmy Fox is back. As he makes his return here, remember, Ernest Youngman just beat the hell out of him at the War to settle the score. And so it's kind of been Benny Benson leading the way. Benny Benson came in, traded blows with Youngman last week after the tag team match with Troy and Ernest here. And so this week, Jimmy Fox is back. Crowd's excited. And so these two run in, and, they start kind of, again, going at it, trading blows here with Benny Benson and Jimmy Fox trading blows with Troy Tornado and Ernest Youngman. And so that kind of sends these two out of the ring for a second. Kind of a little caught off guard a little bit. Good to see Youngman, by the way, getting better at his gimmick. That's great. 51 for this. But then we kind of hear Benny Benson yelling at these two as they're, kind of backing up. And, Troy Tornado is just like, man, I just took a punch here and I didn't do anything in the last two matches. But so Benny Benson challenges Troy Tornado and Ernest Youngman to a tag team match. We'll see what happens with that. But yeah, so these two kind of challenging these two here to a match. We'll see if that is made official, perhaps next week. So, yeah, a little bit of a slow burn with Ernest here, but we got to build up his popularity. 51 for the segment. All right, now we get the return of the Center Society here, who we've not seen as a whole. Remember, we haven't seen the Center Society as a whole since the War to settle the score, where they lost the rematch to Mighty Mo and Tana for the Tag Team Championship. So Eddie Peak is back, and we, again, are kind of seeing a usually very quiet group here outside of Eddie Peak. And that's the same thing here. Killer Shark, Titan, Nick Booth, all kind of walking behind Peak, and you can see Eddie Peak, those eyes are just going because he clearly has something on his mind here. And so, Kyle Rhodes just asking last week that the challenge was laid down to you. Tana challenged you to a match after what you did to him with a steel chair several weeks ago. And this is when Eddie Peak is just, we can see him kind of gritting his teeth here. And he says, first of all, I will accept the challenge. I'm going to step back in this ring and I will meet Tana inside the ring. And I will do the same thing I did to him last time. I will chop him down until he has nothing left. And that's where Eddie Peak kind of turns it back to the Center Society here and just says, we've come up short, but I'm going to show all of these guys that sometimes you have to lead by example, and that's exactly what I'm going to do when I step into the ring with Tana at Battleground. So another match made official here. It is going to be Eddie Peak versus Tana one-on-one at Battleground. So Eddie Peak going to step in the ring for the first time in our save as an official match participant here. And again, kind of pushing that he's going to lead by example in the Center Society. And we'll see exactly what that means here moving forward. So 71 here for the segment. All right, Freddy. Poor Freddy. Freddy Huggins, our challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship coming up. He gets a win over Harvey Robinfield here. 744 with a Huggins kiss. 53 for this one. So bad chemistry between these two. Didn't quite get the Human Arsenal, Roderick Remus chemistry note here. So this turns out to be not a great match, but it's fine. By the way, I was going to say, I forgot to mention earlier, but our main event tonight actually is a huge one. Forgot to mention that in the promo. But it's going to be Wolf and Doc Hammond teaming up to take on TBone and One Man Army. So a huge main event, which I forgot to promote earlier. Hopefully it doesn't hurt our ratings. But in all seriousness, Freddy gets the win here. And it's just kind of, giving Freddy another chance to brag. But more importantly is what comes afterwards. As this gets an 81, and so a great segment here. Surprised that Matt Hawkins segment gets an 81. But so Freddy, after the match, he calls in Kyle Rhodes. You guys know it's a recurring thing now. And he just comes in and he starts with his trademark, Kyle Rhodes. Well, let me tell you something. I've got something right here, Matt Hawkins. We see Matt Hawkins holding a bag. And we don't know what's in this bag, right? But Matt Hawkins holding a bag. And so Freddy says, so Kyle, I want you to know this is very important. Matt Hawkins has a bag here. And I have a request. I would like for my opponent, Aaron Andrews, to come on out because there's something I need to ask him. And so Freddy's just waiting and waiting. Fans are cheering on. They want Aaron Andrews to come out. And so finally, here comes the ace. Here comes our World Heavyweight Champion, Aaron Andrews. Haven't seen him tonight. What's he been up to? We don't know. But he makes his way out, and he's got his championship, over his shoulder here. And that's when Freddy just says, oh, okay, so finally you decide to come out whenever I challenge you or call you out. That didn't happen for a long time, but now you've decided to do it. And Freddy says, and I think I know why. Because I think you know exactly why this bag is right here now in my hands. And he says, it's not what's in the bag. It's what's going to be in the bag. And Freddy just says, because here's what I would like you to do. I would like you to hand over the TCW World Heavyweight Championship right now. And crowd starts booing, all this other stuff. Like, come on, are you kidding me? Aaron Andrews just shaking his head, just kind of looking around. Kyle Rhodes is just putting his hand on his head here. Like, what is this guy doing? And Freddy's like, what are you people booing about? I am trying to save all of you some time and money. There's no reason for you to pay to watch a match where I'm going to beat Aaron Andrews into a pulp. There's no reason for you to spend your hard-earned money to do that when all he has to do is hand me the championship belt right now. And the reason why I have this bag for the championship is because I've got to get this thing sanitized. I've seen all of you people out there put your hands on this championship. Who knows what this guy has done with it? I've got to go get it cleaned. But don't worry, we've already got all of that set. I just need it in the bag. So, Aaron, if you want to just go ahead and hand it on over, we'll save everybody some time, and we'll just be done with this thing, and you can have a nice night off at TCW Battleground. And Andrew's just looking around again, shaking his head. Everyone's booing. Freddy on a roll here, and Aaron Andrews just says, Freddy, I don't have time for this. I've got some other business to take care of. So here's all I'm going to say is this. You have to beat me to get my championship. And so Aaron Andrews he's done. He walks away, crowd's cheering, and Freddy's just kind of shaking his head like, what is he talking about? Like, just hand over the belt. Like, it's fine. And so Aaron Andrews walks off. Again, he said he has some business to take care of. And Freddy, trying to get the championship, didn't quite work out for him here, for Aaron Andrews to hand over the belt. So it looks like our match is still on for TCW Battleground. Freddy Huggins challenging Aaron Andrews here. But Aaron Andrews makes a great point. He doesn't have to beat Freddy. He could win by countout, could win by disqualification, and still be the champion. Freddy's got to beat him to win the title. 81. Good segment here. A lot more to come next week on the Go Home edition. All right. Ed Stone back in action here, in singles action, that is. He's been teaming up with Arsenal since the loss to Freddy at the War to Settle the Score. But Ed Stone gets the win, 806 for this one over Jeremy Courtney, 64. Again, what a chemistry note show here. Two great chemistry notes I would not have expected. And remember, it was Ed Stone and Human Arsenal teaming up last week against Courtney and Remus. And so turns out that the tag team match was not the way to go. The singles matches is where the chemistry's at. So, so each of these two have great chemistry. That's very interesting. But so Ed Stone gets the win. I think you could say that, I don't want to say Ed Stone's completely in a holding pattern right now, but we have a kind of big storyline coming for him, and, it's kind of just got to play out over the next little while. So, just giving him some wins. Nice thing to have. So 64 for this one. All right, then we get another announcement, another big match for Battleground. Now, the Battleground card is starting to beef up a little bit here. Now, I beefed up a little bit earlier. We added Eddie P. Quintana, but really, I'm really liking this card, and as you'll see, I think this is maybe our most stacked card yet, to be honest with you, and we'll see if that turns out to be the case. But so we get the announcement here that TBone and a partner of his choosing are going to take on the Elite at Battleground. Now, we remember these two, just completely attacked TBone and Sammy Bach, was it a couple weeks ago now? And we know Sammy's just been out with a broken ribs and all this other stuff. So TBone and a partner are going to face the Elite at Battleground, so that's made official. So we'll see who TBone's partner is going to be. But, it will be a big kind of revenge match perhaps for TBone, who is going to be in our main event here, as he is going to team up with, as we said, one-man army to take on Wolf and Doc Hammond. So we'll see what happens there. But before we get there, 65, you guys know there's someone else we have to get to before the main event. And it is Jay Chord. And yes, Jay Chord is here. And as we said last week, we teased it, there would be an official announcement on the status, moving forward for Jay Chord and TCW after everything we've seen. This guy has refused opponents. He's attacked Sammy Bach in a vicious, sort of fashion, even after we knew that Sammy had broken ribs. But Jay Chord has not let up here. And, there's been kind of the stare down he's had with Aaron Andrews. And Jay's just he's been a loose cannon. So 79 for the segment here. And that is when Kyle Rhodes just kind of says, Jay, I have been given, the authority here to make this announcement. As everyone knows, last week we said this week that, we would kind of update your status here in TCW. Well, he says, for starters, I would like to tell you this. The TCW booking committee and the higher-ups in the office have let me know that you are going to be wrestling next week here on Total Wrestling. So the crowd's just popping here like, wait a second, Jay Chord's wrestling next week? And so Kyle Rhodes says, because in your contract that you signed, there is a clause that says you must compete at least once every 30 days in TCW. And the last time you competed was at the War to Settle the Score at the end of February. Well, it turns out there's more days in March than there are February. And you have to wrestle before basically Battleground Eve, so the Saturday before TCW Battleground, or else your contract could be in danger of being terminated, and you will be fined $100,000. And so Jay Chord here is looking around like, you can tell, Jay Chord getting a little heated here, knowing that he now has to wrestle. He's been turning down opponents. He's been refusing matches. He has to wrestle next week due to a contract technicality here, or else he's going to have to give up $100,000. So that is when Kyle Rhodes kind of continues here and says, but that's not all, because you will be in action next week at Total Wrestling, but you will also wrestle at TCW Battleground 5 days later, and I am been given the authority to tell you that your opponent that you will face at TCW Battleground will be in the building next week. So that's kind of how we wrap this thing up. Kyle Rhodes, just kind of walks out of the ring and doesn't really give Jay Chord a chance to respond here, as Jay is just kind of looking intently at Kyle Rhodes as he makes his way back to the announce desk, and he just keeps his eyes right on Kyle Rhodes as we kind of go to a commercial here. So, very interesting development here, as Jay Chord is going to wrestle next week for the first time in a month, essentially. And also, though, we will know who his opponent is going to be at Battleground, because his opponent, as Kyle Rhodes stated, will be in the building next week. So who's he going to wrestle next week? Who's his opponent going to be at Battleground? We don't know, but it looks like Jay Chord being forced by the TCW powers that be. Who could that be? It's not Kyle Rhodes, right? Is forced to step back into the ring here. 79 for the second. A lot of stuff to come with Jay Chord. Yeah. All right, now we get to the main event. Good main event here, 81 for this one, not surprised. Fantastic heat, great wrestling. As it is Wolf Hawkins and Doc Hammond in a draw with TBone and One Man Army as we get the double countout finish here. Yes, I know. We can't have a clean finish for everything. 15 minutes we go for this match, but it winds up being a double countout. And, if you're looking at in-ring performances here, look at this, guys. 88 for Wolf, 81 for our man TBone, who just continues to, he is on the rise here for sure. So, just tremendous stuff from TBone on this one. If we look at the dirt sheet here, in terms of what our rating could have been, well, once again, declining physical ability. But we got to blame that on the two older guys here, Doc and Army. But here's how things play out. So, Doc and One Man Army, they're fighting each other. And as we said, this has kind of been the theme, right? Like, these guys just fight each other all the time. And that's why they're going to have a match at Battleground. But they fight each other outside, and it leads to a double countout, all right? So then, that kind of leaves Wolf and TBone in the ring. And so we've got kind of the stare down. The crowd's losing it because this is kind of the first time you really think about it, other than just, having the interactions and tag matches and such. But it's Wolf and TBone stare down in the middle of the ring for these two. So this gets an 81. But as that happens, the crowd's popping some more because they see someone come from behind here. And it is Daryl Devine, who has made his way behind Wolf. And TBone's just standing there, and he's smiling at Wolf. Wolf has no idea why he's smiling. Doc Hammond and One Man Army have fought into the crowd now. They're long gone. So, Daryl Devine taps Wolf on the shoulder. Wolf turns around into just an absolute haymaker from Daryl Devine here as he starts hauling off on Wolf. So, TBone's just standing there. Daryl Devine finally letting loose, some frustration here. We know, think about it, guys. It's been built up for, over a month now. Started with, the attack. We saw Daryl Devine being handcuffed in the parking lot, all this other stuff. Clearly taken out by Wolf and the Syndicate. Then it was Wolf just kind of shoving Chance Fortune's bloody face inside the cage right over to Devine, who couldn't get to him. And then last week, sounded the same thing. As Wolf bloodies up Chance Fortune and Daryl Devine, kind of left with nothing here to do as it wound up being the Syndicate standing tall. But now Daryl Devine unleashing some frustration here on Wolf Hawkins. So he's just delivering haymakers. We just got these mounted punches here, and Wolf's not able to stop him. This is as furious we've ever seen Daryl Devine. And of course, people are at this point. You're like, well, okay, where's the elite, right? Where's the rest of the Syndicate? We know Doc Hammond's fighting off with One Man Army, but there's no elite here. There's no Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson. So Daryl Devine goes over and he just grabs a microphone. We've never heard Daryl Devine speak here. This guy never gets any microphone time. And so TBone's standing there. Wolf has just been taken out. You can tell Wolf just battered here because Daryl Devine just letting it all hang out on this thing here. But now we get a situation here where Daryl Devine has got the microphone, and he says, all this time, I've had to sit back and watch as the Syndicate, not only have they beaten up my friend Chance Fortune, but they've beaten me up. I heard Wolf talk about earlier on having the whole world in his hands. Well, here's what I know. I know that the Syndicate tried to take my world away from me. They beat me up in the parking lot. They handcuffed me. They basically left me for dead. Well, that doesn't work for me because this is all I've got. Everyone's always called me the ultimate underdog. And he said, and Devine says, I heard Bart Biggins out here a couple weeks ago talking about how everyone's called him the has-been. Well, everyone's always called me the never was because I've never been able to reach the heights of being, a world champion, of being someone that gets the respect. I've just been labeled the underdog. And Daryl Devine says, but all that changes at Battleground because Wolf Hawkins, I am standing over you right now, and I am challenging you to a match at Battleground. I'm not sitting back anymore and letting you rub all of this into my face about how you think you're better than me, how you think you can take my world into your hands. And Devine says, here's what's going to happen. Wolf, you and the Syndicate's world is going to be in my hands at Battleground. And then he just makes a slight turn here, and he turns right back to Wolf and says, or maybe it's already in my hands. And so Divine throws down the microphone. Now, what is he talking about here? Maybe it's already in his hands, right? And Divine walks out of the ring. T-Bone's behind him. And all of a sudden, we hear Kyle Rhodes saying, well, it's a very angry Daryl Divine. Well, wait a second. We're hearing that there's some commotion in the backstage area. We have got video cameras going out to the parking lot, and we finally get the feed. And what do we see in the parking lot? 77 for this one. None other, as the camera goes from seeing a beaten down Wolf Hawkins in the middle of the ring, the video cameras go to the parking lot where we see a pissed off Eddie Chandler and Nate Johnson. And the reason they're pissed off is because they have been handcuffed in the parking lot, just like Daryl Divine was. It is the Elite now feeling the wrath of the handcuffs as they are handcuffed in the parking lot. And so that is how we go off the air for this one. So Daryl Divine, of all people, Wolf's kind of been, plotting against him for a while now, as we know. He's kind of been just the joke to Wolf. Wolf has taunted him. He's done all this stuff. But perhaps Daryl Divine getting, a little bit of a laugh here on Wolf, as it is the Elite, handcuffed, no way to help Wolf, all by himself, who now has been challenged by Daryl Divine for Battleground. 76 here for this one. So a good show. A lot of storyline development. 79, so not the best in terms of rating, but yeah, we developed a lot of stuff, but ultimately this was a show built around a lot of interesting things in terms of the card on Battleground, which again is really getting very fun here when you think about it. So we've got Aaron Andrews defending against Freddy Huggins for the championship. We've got we've got Tana and Eddie Peak going one-on-one. We know we've got Joshua Taylor, Human Arsenal. We know Jay Chord's going to wrestle someone. Daryl Divine's laid down the challenge to Wolf Hawkins. We've got TBone teaming up with a partner against the Elite. Gage against Bart Biggins. And I know there's something I just didn't mention. A tag team match on the table, a tag team challenge on the table with Benny and the Fox against Tornado and Youngman. A loaded card here if everyone accepts their challenges. So we'll see if that happens. But there you go. That was Total Wrestling. And let's see what we get to before I wrap up. All right, so Total Wrestling, excellent. We struck gold, what we always want. What about the SWF? They also struck gold here with this one. Let's see, ZWB, star of the show. Why am I? Okay, I'm looking right. So they got an 82, so they did better than us from that standpoint. Best match, Hollywood, Brett Starr, ZWB getting an 88. Tremendous stuff there from those two. Very talented workers there. But, all right, so they get it's fine. Come on. We should still beat them in the TV rating, surely. So nothing else really of note here that we see on that. Let's look at our mail. Okay, so Dazzling Dave, we've got to get his contract renewed here. Maybe it will come with a clause that he's got to wrestle at least more than 5-minute matches for his stamina. He's got to get his stamina up if he's going to come back with us. But, all right, so drug test fees, we'll leave Dave there. 3.40, I think that's down from last week. I could be wrong, but we'll look at it here in a second. As we go to the rating center, and as we said, we're still not that far off from Ridley football, but SWF making a little bit of a run here too. So a better show perhaps from that standpoint, 3.40, but still 2.88 for SWF. So we're still doing just fine there on that. But so there you go. Let's get the SWF off there. Come on, TCW. That was Total Wrestling. And again, only one more episode to go, the Go Home Edition. Next week before our Battleground event. And so be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And again, check out all the other stuff on the channel. I've started to kind of get back in the groove of putting together WWE and AEW shows. I'm hoping, to have at least one of those up here in the next week or so. And so, I appreciate you guys being patient on that. I know a lot of people, sometimes it can be a little bit of a split. Sometimes there are just people who care about the real world stuff. Sometimes just people who care about Seaverse, but I like that we have a mix, and so a lot to choose from if you like any of them in that regard. And again, new saves on the way here soon as well. But I appreciate you guys, as always. And on the next episode of our TCW save, it will be the Go Home Edition of Battleground, as it will be Total Wrestling for March, Week 4.